In this episode of Wisdom and Hustle, I'm chatting with Latoya Turner, founder of Brown Hands Literacy. She's on a mission to educate our future leaders about the value and contributions of historically Black colleges and universities. She's an educator, author, a filmmaker, working to educate and empower youth and families about higher education. As a proud alumni of an HBCU, I'm excited to be talking with Latoya and have her talk about her why, her journey that she's been on to really help children reach their potential. So welcome, Latoya.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. And of course, as I indicated, I'm excited because I'm an HBCU alum, a proud alumni of North Carolina A&T State University in Greensboro, North Carolina. So yes, this is an exciting conversation to be having, particularly in this time where, EI is under attack, HBCU funding is under attack, the future of our kids when they graduate, all of that is in a big cloud. And it's not necessarily a clear cloud either.
Absolutely.
So I think it's important work that you're doing. And so I want to talk with you about so where did this idea come about to start this nonprofit?
Yes. So Brown Hands Literacy, our mission is to educate the youth about HBCUs through HBCU experiences, HBCU children's books, and through film. This whole idea kind of came about is one, I'm a proud graduate of Central State University, but I didn't learn about HBCUs until I was in high school. Also, I was graduating from Central State University. My major was early childhood education. So I was a teacher. So as I was teaching elementary school, I will always talk to my students about HBCUs. And year after year, I would tell them about HBCUs and my experience. And it was year after year, what's an HBCU? What's an HBCU? And that was me. So I said, you know what? It would be really cool to take two of my passions, which is literacy, kids, and HBCUs, and combine it all together and to create a life mission and purpose and create something that's meaningful to myself. And really, that's how Brown Hands Literacy came about, is taking my passions and putting it to a project itself. And I created a nonprofit organization where I can help kids learn about HBCUs, educate them, and also get them excited about literacy.
And so this is interesting that it's, squarely focused on HBCUs. And so why did you not take why didn't you use this as an opportunity to really just talk about college in general?
You know what? Because my HBCU experience, and I know so many others who have graduated from HBCUs, honestly, it really takes a person who have really graduated from HBCUs or even attended to really understand the meaningful connections, the meaningful history of HBCUs. I had such a unique, and I'm not going to say unique because people who have experience know exactly what I'm talking about as yourself, but I had such a powerful experience that even though I graduated 16 years ago, that experience that from 16 to 20 years ago while I was enrolled in college, it still stands with me today. I want to say this. I have a master's degree from PWI. No ties, no connections, can't tell you the motto, can't sing a song or anything like that. I'm just going to be honest. I can't, because it's really no connection there. But my HBCU experience over 16 years ago, I'm still saying, wow, that still is impacting me to today. So I want other people, the youth who eventually be HBCU students, graduates, I want them to experience the same thing that I experienced, because it's powerful, it's meaningful, it's connections, it's Black history, and it's us.
Yeah, I agree. It's one of those things where it's an experience that you really can't articulate to people who did not go to HBCU necessarily. Because there's this kinship, right, between HBCU students among the people who you were in school with or attended the same school, but also just the HBCU community as a whole. And it's
Mhm.
one of those things that you really can't articulate. I have to admit that, my mother was an HBCU grad, but she really encouraged me not to stay at home. So I didn't know where I was going, what I was going to do. And she just felt like because she didn't have that chance to go away, like she wanted her children to experience going away. And there's something about going away and learning about people who come from other communities that you're not from or other states. And so you're right, Latoya, that there's that experience that you really can't articulate unless you've been there. And so
Mhm.
this business, this nonprofit that you started is really trying to create that experience locally with the hope
Yes.
that people will go, with hopes that these kids will go and experience that on their own. And so, when you decided to do this, like, had you had any entrepreneurship experience? Like, do you see yourself as kind of like a bit of an accidental entrepreneur?
So that's a great question. So after my journey at Central State University, I was an early childhood education major. So I majored in early childhood education and became a teacher and was in the classroom for 13 years. Now, honestly, really at year like 12 or 13, something was telling me, Toya, you got to come out the classroom because you have to reach more students. So year after year, I was reaching probably 20 students to 20 students in my classroom, but God was telling me, your reach is much larger than 20 students a year. It's way more students than that. So by me not having an entrepreneurship experience or journey of me being a classroom teacher, fetching out to do my own thing was a bit scary. But I will say, I think that educators naturally have the gift to multitask all kind of different things. So as an educator, I feel like I'm a psychologist, I'm a nurse, I'm a mom, I'm a all these things. So that is
Counselor.
right, a counselor. I can go on and name so many different things. And then I was able to say, you know what? I think I could do this. But now, is that scary? Absolutely, because I'm used to having structure, right? Journey and doing things differently is not the typical experience that I'm used to because I'm a teacher. I have my paycheck every 2 weeks. I have things in order, all of those things. But God told me, like, you know what? Go for it, and it will be rewarding to you. And I listened. Not gonna kind of listen. I listened. So I didn't really have the background of an entrepreneurship. It was something that I wanted to take the journey to do and believe that, hey, if I go this route, you're going to reach more students or more kids, and you are going to have a much successful career. I really just followed my heart and followed my dream and went for it. And the return of it has been so much greater, I will honestly say, than being in the classroom. Even though I impacted so many lives, I've impacted more lives just from believing that, hey, you can do this and you can reach far more kids.
Wow, I love it. I love it. And I love that in this experience that you offer the kids, like you do these local homecomings, how to recreate the HBCU homecoming experience. Talk to us about that.
Yes. So one thing about Brown Hands Literacy, so I stated before, our mission is to educate kids about HBCUs through HBCU books. So I have a children's books titled Brown Hands Black Schools, HBCUs. I have a film. And then we host events. The events that we host are called like HBCU Literacy Experience. And what that means is that we host events to educate kids, one, about HBCUs, and two, to get them excited about literacy. So some kids may not be able to attend or go on campus at a HBCU, right? So it's like, okay, if you're in Cincinnati, I'm in Cincinnati, Ohio. We don't have any HBCUs in Cincinnati, Ohio, but our closest HBCU is an hour away. Some kids, families can't make it an hour away. So in Cincinnati, what I can do is try to bring that experience here locally. So what that means is having HBCU alumni chapter so kids can talk to HBCU graduates, having members of the Divine Nine so kids can see them and also see them in action, a step show so kids can hear the music. A big part of HBCUs is having fun. It's not just all academics, it's having fun. bringing people together to see the friendships and the connections that actually happen at HBCUs. And then the literacy piece, why it's called HBCU Literacy Experience, is one, to have HBCU children's books there, to have HBCU activities there for kids and families to participate in. So really just bringing that experience as close to students or kids as possible in case they can't make it to HBCU. I have a 4-year-old son, and he's been to homecoming. He's been to an HBCU campus, but that's not the case for a lot of people. I didn't go to HBCU campus until I was my senior year of high school or my junior year of high school of just visiting. But the experience that will plant a seed in them early on, just because of the work that I'm doing today, 15 years from now, 10 years from now, kids might say, I'm going to a HBCU because I attended an event for Brown Hands Literacy. And I have to think about that. And that's the impact that we are having on families.
I love it. I love it. And so, Latoya, I remember when I was in high school, I never knew of like a college tour. And so now, you hear you hear about them all the time.
Yes.
And so is that a part of your experience as well?
Absolutely. And yes, absolutely. So when I say I didn't hear about, I didn't learn about HBCUs. I had a cousin she attended Morris Brown, and she attended Morris Brown when I was in high school, probably like my freshman year, maybe 8th grade. But I remember her talking more about her, she was an AKA. I heard her speak more about like just being an AKA. So all I knew was like, oh, she's an AKA at an HBCU. It was really more the emphasis on being an AKA and like in this sorority sisterhood rather than an HBCU. Honestly, I never put 2 and 2 together. I even watched A Different World and never put I don't know. Some people have said, like, I can agree with you. I really never put 2 and 2 together. Why? I don't know, but I just did not. But that experience, my parents didn't go to an HBCU. They didn't go to college. So for me, it was just, it went completely over my head. So for me to learn about HBCUs at a much later phase in life, I can honestly say I didn't really know about it, but the experience of my sister, who's 1 year older than me, she went to an HBCU. So my junior year, and this was like new for her, my junior year, I was able to visit her at Alabama A&M. And I visited her at Alabama A&M and got the experience. I was hooked. I said, oh, I'm definitely going to an HBCU, but I didn't want to go far away from home. And I was in Detroit. So what led me to Central State University was, what's the closest HBCU from Detroit, Michigan? It's Central State University. And that's how I landed at Central State University.
I love it. I love that story. And no matter how we get there, right? We get there. And so you mentioned that you have now moved into like your author, your filmmaker. Talk to us about that. Like how did those things happen?
Yes. So as my teaching career started right when I graduated from Central State University, I went into the field of education. At 22 years old, I was a classroom teacher, which is fairly young, but it was meaningful to me because it was a fresh set of ideas in the classroom, and students were able to relate to me, and I was able to make connections with the students and make connections with families and things like that. But during my years of teaching, one, I fell in love with children, even though I knew I was passionate about it, but just like the HBCU experience, I didn't know I would love it that much until I actually was in it and experienced it. So I fell in love with children and I fell in love with literacy. Out of my years of teaching, year after year after year, I would have the highest test scores. And at the first year, they was like, wow, your students really excel. So then year 2, year 3, year 4, it kept being the same thing. So I'm thinking, wow, what am I, what is it that I'm doing? So I'm like, what's happening here? Now, how did that happen? 1, building relationships with the students. 2, I have to give credit to my HBCU experience because my HBCU prepared me to be an awesome educator. And then I was really connected with the students and I fell in love with literacy. So over the years of me falling in love with literacy and students, and reading children's books as a teacher of elementary teacher, I would read tons of children's books and turn them into lessons and do all kind of things. All these books that I'm choosing and reading, there's a lack of representation of Black and brown kids in these books. They're not really related to these stories. They never been to the farm before. My students, they never been to the beach before. So I started like, okay, it would be a really great idea to write a children's book. So how did I learn how to do it after being an educator and a filmmaker and all those things? Is really the power of using my resources. YouTube University, Google is free. All of those things I have access to, and then the power of connections of even asking someone. So this was not my background. I didn't know how to do it. I had no experience in it do it, but I didn't allow that to stop me. I figured it out and I made it happen and was able to become a self-published author, a filmmaker, and it just turned into something that's of my wildest dreams of what has happened now.
So Latoya, I think this is great. You're an author now, and I think that it's good that you leaned into the fact that students need to see themselves. They need to hear about stories that's relatable. And I think that these HBCU experiences help them see other students who are excelling or attempting to excel like they're trying to excel. So I think that HBCUs create that wonderful environment for our students to see what's possible, right? And create these lifelong friendships. Undeniable. And so now you are into the filmmaking as well. Why don't you talk about that filmmaking has taken you to the White House, has taken you to the Essence Festival. And so how did that all come about? And of course, people want to know, so where did you learn to become a filmmaker? And then where did the money come from and all those things?
Okay, so originally I said, you know what? Well, after having these HBCU literacy experience, so one, I had the children's books, but for me, that wasn't enough. I wanted to bring this to life. So that's when the HBCU experience kind of came about. I was able to, everything that kind of was in the book, I was able to bring it to life. In the book, it talked about the marching bands. I would bring local high school marching bands. It talked about fraternities and sororities. At my events, I would make sure fraternities and sororities were there. So I said, I could bring it to life on an even more powerful level by having a film where it's animation and live action. One, animation so kids can be attracted to it, right? So they see any type of cartoons, they're like, oh, what cartoon is this? And then two, the live action, so they know that, hey, this is not a cartoon, but this is real and it's believable. In 2022, I received a grant from United Way of Greater Cincinnati. It was to host these HBCU literacy experience. And I hosted two, but by the third one, I was like, I have a little bit more money left. I'm not hosting another event. I need something that's going to belong to me, that's going to live a lifetime. So I reached out to United Way. It was like, I don't want to host another event. I want to have something. I want to create a film. And this film would last me forever, not just one day, but it would last me forever. So that was probably a few $1,000s, like $5,000. So looking into animation and filmmaking, again, I'm an educator. I'm a teacher. So again, started researching and looking up how to become a filmmaker, who can animate this book, my children's book film, was able to find someone to animate it. And then just from me over the years of being a teacher, I feel like I kind of naturally became a storyteller. So I was able to tell this story through just naturally being a storyteller through my teaching experience. But I was able to get some funding from the grant that I received through United Way. And then also, when I self-published Brown Hands Black Schools HBCUs book, it took off. The HBCU community, teachers, the educators supported me. All the money that I was getting from selling books, I would put it back into the film. It's a lady who graduated from Central State University. She graduated in 95. Her name is Angela Davis, and filmmaking, that's her thing. She was a producer. She was a writer. So when I said, hey, I want to turn this to film, even though she graduated over 10 years before I even graduated and we never really connected and I put it out there, she said, What you need? Like filmmaking is my thing. And just because we had that same
Yep.
HBCU experience, she was willing to say, hey, I can help you. I can help you produce this. I can help you write this. And then myself, I'm like selling books and putting all the all the funding back into the film, but finding an animator and really connecting with someone who graduated from Central State University over 10 years before I even did, who would just because of that HBCU connection that says filmmaking is my thing, what you need. Both of us, honestly, it was over. Like I had the literacy experience, she had the film experience. United Way gave me some funding. I was hustling and selling the books. And
Boom, there it is. I love it.
that was
And so this work really, Latoya, took you to the White House. Talk about that experience and how that felt when you got the call or the letter or whatever that was that got you there.
yes. So when I had this film, so I knew that it was nothing like this. Like the last time it was something like this was probably a different world. It was nothing like this for a film about HBCUs that would probably be impactful. And it was nothing like for kids to learn about HBCU at an early age. I told you I didn't learn about HBCUs until almost high school, but I was thinking there's nothing, and even right now, there's still nothing like this project that's educating kids about HBCUs at an early age that's really gravitating towards and not like the step shows, but a cartoon for them. I knew that I had something special. I knew that it was something special and would be impactful for not only students, I'm in Ohio, so not only for kids in Ohio, this would impact the world. In my mind, this is for everybody. This is for students, elementary students. This is for HBCU alumni, because if you went to HBCU, you automatically want to relate to this. And if you have a kid, you have a grandchild, you got any kids of age, you want your kids to learn about HBCU. So I knew that I had something special. And I believed that it would take me to places of my wildest dreams. So when it was the White House initiative, National HBCU Week conference, I remember like I need to be an exhibitor there because I need to showcase the work that I'm doing there. And I applied for it, and I believe that I would get selected because one, there's nothing like this. Nobody else is applying who has a project like mine. But I believe that I would get selected. And when I did, I was like, wow. But when I saw the list of people who else was selected, I was kind of surprised because I was the only nonprofit organization, probably out of 60 federal companies, organizations, things like that. The U.S. Department of Education, the U.S. Department of Transportation, all these U.S. departments, and then there's Brown Hands Literacy. So I remember, whoa, I'm like, how did Brown Hands Literacy get on this list? But then I wasn't surprised because I believed it, but really just not taking something like when I saw the list from the previous year, and I saw the list and I saw all the U.S. departments of all the things, and I still applied. So even with looking at that, that did not stop me. I was like, let me apply and let me see what happened. But even when you see something that's like, whoa, out of your wildest mind, or you think that can't happen, because I saw it, I still picture myself in that environment and space, and it happened.
Wow. Wow. And you know what, sis? You're supposed to be there. Like the fact that you were selected, you were supposed to be there because of your message and the impact that you are making on the community. And so you also had this opportunity to kind of be on the big stage at Essence Festival. And we know that Essence Festival is a big stage. It's a big stage. But talk to us about that. And how did you feel being among your sisters, talking about the work that you're doing?
So after the White House initiative of HBCUs, like I said, from the beginning, I knew that when this project was completed, I knew that I had something special that honestly nobody like in the world has. This is a unique project that no one has. So I'm kind of in a lane by myself. So when it was time for the Essence Film Festival to apply for Essence Film Festival, I said, I'm going to apply for this. I'm going to apply for this. And again, believe that I will be selected because there's no project like this. Like, and it's for the culture. It's for us. You think of Essence Festival, you think of Black women, you think of people who are successful, you think of Pride, you think of HBCU, alumni, like you think of all of these things. And I believe that I belonged in the environment. But when I remember it first came back, I applied for it and I waited months and it was like, you're a finalist. So that right there was a win to me. Just finalist. I said, I don't know what's about to happen. I don't know if I'm going to be selected next. I'm thinking that I, am going to be selected, but sometimes we have doubt. I don't know if we have doubt. So the doubt was coming in and then me believing and the doubt coming in at the same time. So I'm like, it is what it is. You already won. You're a finalist. But I remember I got an email that said, your official selection for Essence Festival. I was just like, wow. So you mean to tell me that I get to display my work in front of, you got to think, at the Essence Festival, everybody there, thousands, all the celebrities, all the people, all the beautiful Black women, families, men, everybody is there. So I'm like, wow. And when I went there, I think I was in a state of shock almost the whole time because everybody in the film, you got to think, this is not my lane. Right. I've been a teacher for 13 years. So for me to be in a space where Rio, and I'm going to say people who lane this really, really is, who's in there, for me to have my project selected among so many other talented people was like, wow. But so many connections were made there. And even to this day, it still like put me in places. Like when people's like, wow, her film was selected for the Essence Film Festival. I can always say that and I can always use that. And it gives you some type of credibility of, wow, we're Essence. Right. And if you are a Black person, and if you're not, honestly, I've said that to other people, and like, oh, okay. But if I say that to us, we already know that's a huge deal. So really depending on who I'm talking to, and I say it to, it has more meaning than other people who I'm talking to. But if I'm saying it to you, you already know that's a huge deal.
It's huge. And I mean, the fact that, and I would imagine, the people who were, they received the thank you but no thank you letter. Yeah. They probably still feel like, they considered me, they considered me. But the fact that you actually made it and you were able to showcase the work that you're doing, which is just so incredible. It's so incredible. And it gets in front of the eyeballs of so many of us.
Yes.
That also gave you the opportunity to really even talk about like where this vision came from and how this all came about. And the fact that you could say, I'm not a filmmaker. I just had an idea.
Yeah. Filmmaker. I think I have a really hard time even saying that to this day because I consider myself a educator. So this literally just came about the last 2 years. So even me saying I'm a filmmaker, I didn't go to school for filmmaking. I didn't study film. It was something that I learned to do and really just became like, I had to think about this. Like, who said they want to be a filmmaker? In 1 year, you at the Essence Festival.
Exactly. Like a pinch me moment, right?
Yes.
Like so many pinch me moments. And I think it's beautiful. And so in the midst of all these pinch me moments, what impact do you think that Brown Hands Literacy is making on the community?
Well, that's a great question. So because of Brown Hands Literacy, we now have so many kids who now wants to attend a HBCU. And even if they don't want to attend a HBCU, they're knowledgeable about HBCUs. We have families and kids who have learned more about literacy skills, more about what it means to become a reader. What are skills that you have to know in order to become a reader? And really just building a passion for literacies. I know that probably the impact that I'm making today, so the 10-year-olds that I'm impacting, the 5-year-olds that I'm impacting, 10 to 15 years from now, when we see an increase of HBCU enrollment, I know that brown hands literacy have played a role of that increase because we planted seeds when they were 5. We planted seeds when they were 10 years old. And because of the seeds that we have implanted, they now want to attend an HBCU. We've had fraternities and sororities to come talk to students, and you know, the experience, when I say like the HBCU literacy experience of stepping in front of kids, that will make them want to be in a fraternity or sorority. So that has another impact as well, but really just kind of saying, even if you don't attend an HBCU, at least you are aware and can pass the knowledge on to somebody else. So because of the work that Brown Hands Literacy is doing, we are making a meaningful impact of 1, increasing literacy rates, 2, developing a love for literacy, 3, increasing HBCU enrollment and awareness of HBCUs, and then having having successful adults or the future to become lawyers, doctors, and so many more, because we know that HBCU produce almost 80% of doctors. So when I think of HBCU enrollment increase, not just the numbers, now because if they are in attending or graduating from HBCUs, the HBCU enrollment have now produced more doctors, more lawyers. Because when kids are in that space of attending the HBCU while you are there, you have people who look like you. It's fun. Let's not forget that part. It's fun. You want to graduate with your peers, and now you're going on to do something more successful.
I love it. I think also is that the students see excellence. They see excellence. They see other students striving to be excellent and do well and serve their community as they are. I mean, you think about like the whole thing about the spring break where, they have service spring break now, where the students, instead of going home or going to the beach, they go do these service projects in local communities. And so when you see all that, and let's just talk about the internships and career opportunities, when you are surrounded by all of that, it really kind of shapes who you will become beyond those hallowed grounds at a HBCU. And so I know that now you are like a peer instructor, so to speak, of these wonderful young men. So tell us a little bit about that, but also how the work that you're doing with Brown Hands Literacy is transferring into those young men as well.
Yeah, so my 9 to 5, I am a literacy coach, and I coach Black and brown men between the ages of 18 and 24 years old. Now, these young men, they don't have a college degree, but they have an interest in becoming educators. So the coaching that I do with them, 1 is to say, hey, we need more Black male educators. But then 2 is, you don't have a college degree, but I'm telling you about my wonderful experience at an HBCU. And since you don't have a degree and you haven't been enrolled in college, and you see someone like myself who is 1, who's successful, who's 2, who really, really cares, and 3, who really wants you to attend an HBCU. Even like last week, or actually this week, some of the young men who I coach went to Central State University to talk to high school students about becoming an educator. So the impact that I'm having on these young men is one, we need more Black educators, but 2, you're still between the ages of 18 and 24 and still figuring out life. You still have that opportunity to go to college if you want to, if you choose to do so. So the impact that I'm having on them is, and this is from the words of them, like they see me as a successful Black woman. They know that I have attended the HBCUs, and I say this a lot. I owe it to my HBCU experience of the person who I am today. And I didn't share this, but I was just inducted into the Hall of Fame of Central State University as alumni. That's the youngest person who have been inducted into the Hall of Fame at Central State University.
Congratulations.
This was last week.
Congratulations. Another mind-blowing moment.
Another mind-blowing moment. Someone nominated me, and when she nominated me, she said, "Toy, I think you got this. You got this." You know, Central State is really selective of who they choose to put into the Alumni Hall of Fame, but I think you got this. You have done the work. And when it came, this was literally, so this is all new to me, but when it came out a couple weeks ago that Toya, you are in the Alumni Hall of Fame, and I had to kind of go back. No one from class of '09 has been inducted to the Hall of Fame. It was a person who was younger last year who was inducted, class of '08 who was inducted last year, but usually it's much older people than me who hasn't been inducted to the Hall of Fame, who have years of experience to be inducted to an Alumni Hall of Fame. So that right there for me, and the ceremony is so I'm still like in a state of shock because the induction takes place, the ceremony takes place next week. So next week will be the whole blowout of everything that's really happening, but I don't even know if I have even processed it yet. Like on Central State's like social media page, they posted like Latoya Turner has been inductee for Central State University Hall of Fame. And I'm like,
you're like, is this me?
yeah. So I'm like, oh, like, wow, because and one part of me is like, you are too young to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. And then the other part of me is like, whether age of not, you have put in the work to be here. So one thing that's special about it is that the president of Central State University, the current president right now, he attended Central State University years ago, and he's the current president. He's also being inducted this year. So it's 6 of us. And the current president of Central State University is also inducted as well. So the lineup is wow. But when I coach these young men and they see someone who looks like me, who have doing all of these things, it encourages them to be successful men in society, successful educators, successful just people in general. Because I told them, one of the reasons that got me here, one, my education, and all the things that I've done. 2, people like me. And that's just being honest and real. People like me. People like my personality. People like that I'm a genuine person. So what have brought me this far is not just the education experience, not all of the things that I have attached to my name, but the other thing is because I'm genuinely, and I could say this, and so many more people can vouch for me, I'm a good person.
And I think it's wonderful that not only because we always look at ourselves in a good light, and I think that's good, but I think that the fact that you look at yourself like that and people validate that is really, really important. And I don't know if it's impactful, but it's a validation. It's a validation that you are doing the work that you're supposed to be doing. Is what that you are doing your purpose-driven, your God-given work. And when you do that, it shows up in more than just your organization. It shows up in the community. It shows up on a bigger stage. It shows up on the national stage. I mean, the White House, like you feel like you can't even get any bigger than that, right? So you're showing up to the world, to our country, but you're also showing up in our community, which I think is important. And so not just in the community in which you live, in the community in which you serve, but there's tentacles. And clearly this work is going to continue to grow and continue to get notoriety, and it's going to like force you really to continue to do more projects. It's going to continue to do more projects. So thinking about the work that's ahead, what scares you a little bit in terms of like, now I'm out here, I got to keep going. So what scares you a little bit about the keeping going thing?
Yeah. So what scares me is not knowing what's next. Like I get asked that question so much, like, Toya, what's next? Are you doing another project? What's coming up after this? I think what's scary is not really knowing. Like I have goals and things that I know that I want to do, but the rate that this has been going in is kind of been like of my wildest dreams. I don't even know what's next. So if you would have asked me this 2 years ago, like, Toya, what's next? And I was just an author, I wouldn't have told you I had a film, because that was something I probably wanted to do. But if I would have told you that, I don't know if I don't know if I would have believed it for myself. So the scary part is, of you say, like, what's the scary part of not knowing, or any of those of what's next, is kind of not knowing what's next. Yes, I have dreams and aspirations. Like, I want a series. So I have one pilot, an episode of educating kids about HBCUs and literacy, but I need to be more episodes that highlights all HBCUs. So is that going to happen? In my head, I'm going to say yes, it's going to happen. But also, another thing that's scary is how that's going to happen. I always say this: you can't do nothing with no money. And an animation, it costs a lot. Like, just for one episode costs probably close to over $30,000 in 1 year. So in 1 year of having to spend that much money just on an episode, that's a lot. So when I'm telling you that I want to highlight all HBCUs, and there's over 100 HBCUs, and you're talking about that kind of money, it's kind of like, okay, you have to have the money to back it up. So it's not something I said, hey, I want to do it. It has to be money behind it. So that's another thing that's kind of scary. Like, you have these big dreams of highlighting all HBCUs. If you think of one episode, you're going to come out, and $30,000 is cheap for what the work that I'm doing.
Right.
One episode, $30,000 is cheap. If you're talking about $50,000 for one episode, you got to have money for $50,000 per episode. So that's kind of scary for me.
Well, from your mouth to God's ears,
come on,
it's going to happen, and you're going to, and just like this one happened, it's going to happen. And it may not happen in the time you want it to happen, but it's going to happen, right? And then you're going to be, and you're going to be smart and strategic about, like, how does this roll out? And so that's like, that's a good segue into, like, talk about money. Like, you've leaned into grants and perhaps private foundations and, book sales. And so, what advice would you give to someone who wants to kind of take a little bit of this journey that you've taken?
Yeah, I would honestly say go for it. Even though I'm telling you right now, like, I don't know where I think I want to highlight all HBCUs. I want 100 episodes. I want all of these episodes to highlight these. Where's it coming from? I don't know, but I believe that it's going to happen. But I would just say to go for it. Seek help. Don't think that you can't reach out and ask for help. So if there's someone who's offering grants, apply for those grants. You think you can't qualify? Apply for those grants. If you went to an HBCU, reach out to alumni. You got to think, I went to Central State University. There's tons of people who graduate from Central State University. You think they don't want their story to be told about their experience and other kids to learn about HBCUs? Alumni, tapping into them will help you. And not only if you graduate from HBCU, you don't have to graduate from HBCU, but tap into your network and your resources and your connections that you have already made with people, because you don't know how many people will be willing to help you. And really just believe. I think that's the overall thing. Pray on it and believe that it would happen. Because even though I'm telling you, I want all of these episodes, I'm telling you, I don't know how many or how many I can get done. But in my head, I'm thinking, see them. So if I talk to you next year and they are done, I already see it. I see it happening. How is it going to happen? I don't know. And that's not nothing for me to think about right now or worry about, but it's going to happen. But really just tapping into the connections that you have, applying for things that you don't think that you are qualified for, and taking a chance to do so, reaching out to your connections and asking, hey, I need help and support. People be willing to support you, especially if you're a genuine person. I went back to that a little bit ago, of saying, how have I come this far? People like me. And that's just, I know that. And that's something that's powerful for me to say about myself, and people can validate for myself. people like me. And when you are a person who are really genuine and you're a person, a good-hearted person who's doing great things in the community, or you're just a good-hearted person, you don't got to be doing things in the community. People will be willing to help you. So make sure that you are a genuine person. Make sure that you have a good heart. Make sure you're not doing people wrong, because when you do things like that, you are breaking connections, and people may not tend to like you. And people may not, and that means that people may not be willing to assist and help you. So don't break connections. Just be genuine and true to who you are.
I love it. I love it. And so, Latoya, as we kind of come to our ending here, this has been such an amazing conversation. What are you most proud of since you've launched Brown Hands Literacy?
So I'm most proud of, I have a 4-year-old son. His name is August. And he's been on campus at HBCUs. I have introduced him to like this HBCU experience through fraternities, and I've read tons of children's books to him and taken him on campus. So I could say through Brown Hands Literacy for myself as a mother, and then I'll talk about something else. For myself as a mother is I didn't learn about HBCUs until I was in high school. The fact that he is 4 years old and he knows that he wants to be a Kappa. He's 4 years old and he knows what HBCUs are. Even if he don't choose an HBCU, he's aware that these are the options, even though his mother will want him to, but he knows his history. So I'm most proud of that. And the second thing that I'm most proud of is because of the work that we are doing. I know that so many kids around the country are now more aware of HBCUs. And for me, that makes me super proud just of the awareness piece, because I could have chose something different. And if we think about HBCU enrollment, even if you didn't attend an HBCU, if you're a person of color or if you're not, the history, and this is not just Black history and Black people. HBCUs are for everyone. Let's make that clear. Okay. Anybody can attend an HBCU. Yes. So this is history, right? The H in HBCU stands for historically. So this is history. So I know that because of the work that I'm doing, more people are going to become aware, choosing HBCUs. And when we think about the history, when we think about the long-term goal of HBCUs, so I'm thinking in 15 years from now, our HBCUs doors are going to be open, because at this point, I don't know what to think. And I was to say, wow, yes, because the enrollment, kids are going to want to go to them and know that I have a part in that. That's what stands out the most.
I think that's amazing. And the thing that comes to me when you talk about HBCUs is safety. Like, it's a safe place for students when they go to HBCUs, because they feel like they can be themselves, they can speak their minds, they can deepen their understanding about who they are and what they mean to the world and society. So I think it's, like you said, it's bigger than going to get an education. We know that's at the core of it. That's why they're there. Like let's not get this twisted. For anybody listening, we know that it is college. We know at the core of it is for them to go get an education so they can be good citizens and productive citizens in the world. However, it's the other things that you get when you attend these great, magnificent, historical universities. So I just want to thank you for doing this great work. And so I too am going to ask, what's next? For Brown Hands Literacy, and so then I want you to tell us like how people can donate and support this great work that you're doing.
Okay, so what's next for Brown Hands Literacy? So one, I will say I have self-published my son a children's book. It's titled August University. But it's August University, and it's really not there's parts of it that has to do with HBCUs, but it's kind of like everything that falls into university, like the marching band, friends, learning, all of those things. So his brand is coming out soon, and then I'm going to put it out there. We're going to have different episodes. So this is going to be a series. So I'm going to say this now. This is going to be a series. So what's next? You're going to see another episode of Brown Hands Black Schools, HBCUs. And how is it going to happen? We don't know, but it's going to happen the same way the pilot has happened. So People can
And
donate or
so how can people see the first episode? Like, how do people see that?
So the first episode is available on Prime Video. So if you go to Prime Video, Amazon Prime, and you type in Brown Hands Black Schools HBCUs, you can see it on there. And then we also have like literacy activities to go along with the film, which is available on brownhandsliteracy.org. So our website is brownhandsliteracy.org. Our social media platforms, everything is Brown Hands Literacy. So if you go on Facebook or Instagram, it's all Brown Hands Literacy. And then the film is on Prime Video. August.
And how can people get your book?
So our book is available on it's on Amazon, but it's also available on brownhandsliteracy.org. So the book, the film, if you go to brownhandsliteracy.org to our website, you will be able to have access to the film, the book, our literacy activities. And if you go on our social media pages, which is Brown Hands Literacy, we're constantly posting like updates of like events that we're hosting. So to stay connected to us is Brown Hands Literacy website, social media, everything.
Gotcha. And how can people donate and find you? Well, we know we can find you at brownhandsliteracy.org. And how can people donate there as well?
So to donate or to support our work, one, you can support by telling people about the great work that we are doing. And honestly, this is how this came about. So I do want to thank you for having me on your wonderful podcast because it's word of mouth. So if you're listening to this, tell another friend, hey, did you know a girl named Latoya Turner have a book and a film? That could go a really, really long way. Also, when we host events, whether we're hosting events in Ohio or if you say, hey, we have something that's happening in Atlanta and we can make it there, we're coming because the goal is to educate so many more the youth about HBCUs. So word of mouth. And if we are hosting events, if you want to volunteer, like maybe you in a fraternity or sorority and you want to step, or we have a vendor table set up where you can educate kids about that. So you can volunteer your time, you can spread the word, and then to donate. If you want to donate any money to Brown Hands Literacy, you can go to our website because when you donate to us, we give books to kids, HBCU children's book, and not only my children's book, I'm constantly promoting other HBCU graduates who have HBCU children's book. So I'm not always saying like Brown Hands Black Schools. I'm seeing Brown Hands Black Schools. I'm seeing HBCU Night. I'm seeing Homecoming. I'm promoting all of our book because my book and my work that I'm doing, educating kids about HBCUs, it's just not me. There's quite a few other people who are also doing the work to educate kids. So we just don't need one person. If somebody else is doing the work, I'm highlighting them and I'm promoting them. So if you donate to us, students will, or kids will get my book and they will get other books because I'm going to support the other authors and make sure the kids have their books as well.
I love it. I love it. And so before we close, what are your words or word of wisdom to stay in the hustle?
To stay in the hustle. Hustle is kind of like my word because my parents were hustlers and I get my hustler spirit from them. When I think of hustler, I just think of someone who find a way out of no way, keep going, and really just have like that spirit of, hey, what my dreams are, those things can come true. But I'll just say and this really sounds cliche, but keep going, stay consistent, and keep hustling. Like a hustler is a person who just go out and get it and believe that it can happen.
I love it. I love it. So Latoya, thank you so much for sharing your story, your insights, and your wisdom. And thank you to everyone for joining us and listening into this amazing story. I hope you were inspired, encouraged, and motivated to start or continue your hustle. I invite you to join me while I go along this journey telling series of seasoned founders wherever you enjoy your podcast. Until next time, this is Wisdom and Hustle.